welcome to Highly Detailed News. My name is Kyle Shelley, and before we get to the top 5 cannabis news stories of 2019, be sure to like and subscribe and follow us for updates on these, as well as all other cannabis news stories of 2020. At number 5. Way back on June 25th, Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the Cannabis Taxation Act into law, making Illinois the 11th state to legalize cannabis for adult recreational use. It is, however, the first state to do so through the legislative process. Lines formed as early as 3 a.m. on January 1st, with even the lieutenant governor taking some time out to get some gummies. Starting on January 1st, Illinois residents over the age of 21 will be able to legally possess up to 30 grams, and non-resident adult visitors will be able to possess up to 15. The overwhelming pro of this bill is that it seeks to expunge up to nearly 800,000 cannabis convictions. These have disproportionately affected communities of color, and on December 31st, the governor signed the pardons of over 11,000 low-level convictions and arrests. The largest downside of the Illinois law, however, is that it restricts the growing of cannabis to medical patients only. Heather Steens, the Illinois state lawmaker who crafted the bill, says that growing was originally included for all state residents. However, pushback from other members of Congress and law enforcement groups caused it to be lost to compromise. It's absolutely tragic that it took the death of 27-year-old Tyler Skaggs for Major League Baseball to remove cannabis from its list of banned substances. However, moving forward, Major League Baseball will no longer consider the use of cannabis a punishable offense. In fact, in the 2020 and 2021 seasons, players will take classes on the potential benefits of cannabis as well as the dangers of opiate pain medication. Since 2002, drug testing has been limited to performance-enhancing substances, even though opioids are classified as a drug of abuse under the Joint Big League program. Marijuana is being removed from the list, and players will no longer face a fine of $35,000 per violation. Also, testing positive for cannabis in the minor league will no longer result in a suspension. Now, don't expect players to be hotboxing the dugout, but I say if a massage oil after the game is able to lengthen somebody's career, or hell, even a joint, by all means, go for it. Okay, now vapes. First off, I would like to say by placing this any higher on the list, I would be adding to the falsely driven hysteria, but to ignore it altogether would be a huge mistake. The simple and direct answer is that vaping is a far too general term for all the products that it seems to apply to. But if you boil this study down, it is a clear and obvious example of the need to end prohibition as well as get America out of the Stone Age by enacting Medicare for All into law. If you use the CDC website to go to the study from the New England Journal of Medicine, you can read that a majority of patients delayed seeking treatment as their symptoms progressed up to hospitalization. Now, it doesn't say why they decided to delay seeking treatment, but it does say that all vapes testing positive for contaminants were obtained outside of legal channels. In Minnesota, 10 of 10 products seized by law enforcement during 2018 before the electronic cigarette or vaping product use associated lung injury outbreak did not contain vitamin E acetate, whereas 20 of 20 THC containing products seized by law enforcement during September 2019 at the peak of the outbreak contained vitamin E acetate. Now, we will of course follow this story closely and bring you any updates, but as it stands currently, there does appear to be some vitamin E oil added to some black market vapes for whatever reason. However, licensed shops carrying reputable products that have been tested in labs have yet to show any evidence of chest-based contaminant buildup. This is just another example of why we need to end this wasteful and pointless war on drugs. That leads us to the MORE Act, or the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act of 2019. Introduced by Senator Kamala Harris on July 23rd, it does have little chance of being passed into law, but it gives much needed recognition to the failed U.S. drug policy. Key highlights include, not later than 180 days after the date of the enactment of this act, the Attorney General shall finalize a rulemaking under Section 201A2, removing marijuana and tetrahydrocannabinols from the Schedule of Controlled Substances. The amendments made by this section to the Controlled Substances Act are retroactive and shall apply to any offenses committed, cases pending, convictions entered, including juvenile convictions. It also opens up Small Business Administration for providing funding for legitimate cannabis-related businesses and service providers. Now, we have included a link below so you can track the progress along with us, but at the time of filming, the MORE Act was currently listed as having been read twice and referred to the Committee on Finance, where it has been since July 23rd. Last, but definitely not least, this is the most disappointing story I have to bring to you. According to data released on September 30th by the FBI, police in the United States made 663,367 arrests for cannabis in 2018. While the report goes on to clarify that recent decriminalization in Illinois had little time to affect the overall status, the growing number of decriminalization and medical use laws have also seen a growing number in arrest. Prohibition is a failed and racist policy that should be relegated to the dustbin of history, says NORML Executive Director Eric Altieri. An overwhelming majority of Americans from all political persuasions want to see it brought to an end. It is time lawmakers of all levels begin to honor the will of their constituents and support a sensible marijuana policy focused on legislation and regulation. This statistic frequently stuns my friends and colleagues when they hear it for the first time. How can so many people be enjoying legal cannabis on the coast, but yet that number still continues to rise? The answer is simple: money. Corporations are making huge profits off both our tax dollars and dehumanizing labor contracts that are leveled disproportionately at communities of color. I hope that next year when the FBI releases their statistics, I will be pleasantly surprised, but as that number will not be zero, it will not be good enough. Thank you for watching Highly Detailed News. Please be sure to subscribe to get updates on these and many other cannabis-minded news stories in the weeks ahead. If you feel like we brought value to this space, follow our Patreon link. Also, please be sure to leave your top 5 cannabis news stories of 2019 in the comments section below. Thank you again from all of us here at Highly Detailed News.